Good afternoon, ladies. How are you guys doing? Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon. I'm not camming up for this video. I'm sorry. I don't feel like it. I do not feel like it. All right. Just gonna wait for people to get in here. I just started. Good afternoon. I wanted to talk about this. It's going to be a podcast now, so hopefully you guys are okay with it. So let me go ahead and play my intro, and then I'm going to just get right into today's video.
Hey boos, in this video, I give commentary based on my opinion. Nothing is to be taken as factual. We are just here to have conversation. We don't expose and we don't sip tea on this channel.
Something we
I'm
keep a
giving
close
you
eye
real
on here
talk
is the crisis
straight,
of young
no
men
chaser. Let's see if you can handle it.
Cause I'm a boss. I haven't done anything for you to be proud of.
Of course you have. You are marrying a man who can support you.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about the crisis that's currently going on in the US right now among young men. And it's interesting because no one is talking about it. Like the Manosphere is not talking about it. I'm being painted out to be a liar, spreading false information. So I decided to come on here and talk about the crisis that men are not talking about, the Manosphere refuses to acknowledge at all. And it's interesting because this is starting to really grow into a huge issue that men seem to be in denial about. And I was on the YouTube channel. It's called Breaking Point. And if you're interested, I'll leave a link once this live is saved. But it is called Breaking Point. And it's, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's called Sagar. I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name. But he decided to do a video regarding the crisis among young men in America. And it just seems like the more that we women improve, it seems like the less men are trying to improve, or the less that men are even trying to do better. And it's based off of statistics. It's not based off of how we personally feel, how women feel, but it's just based off of numbers. It's their lack of going to college. It's their lack of participating in the work field. It's their lack of getting out here making friends. It's their lack of being social. It's not just because whenever I posted that article that was on my community tab, everyone keeps talking about, men are talking about, what do you mean? Like, so you're saying that women can be celibate, can choose celibacy and peace, but men can't? And it's just like, men are not choosing it. You're being forced to, because women don't want to date you because you don't have your shit together. There's a difference. There's a difference. So we're going to talk about that, because they're trying to pull that card like men are choosing celibacy. You're not choosing it. You're not even making friends. You don't have a social life. Something's not right with that. You're isolating yourself inside your home. You're not going outside. You're not going to school. You're not going to a trade. You're not going to a job. So And then there are also men that keep saying women are on antidepressants. Men are unaliving themselves. Like, your suicide rates are out of this world. And no one is talking about the fact that you guys are unaliving yourselves. At least we're going to the doctors to get the antidepressants so that we're not unaliving ourselves. That's the difference between men and women. Y'all don't even go to your primary care physician to see if you're okay mentally. So it's crazy. Or a therapist, somebody. You're out here unaliving yourself. Oh no, they don't read studies at all. They don't read studies at all. So I decided to bring this gentleman onto my channel, and I saw his video. It popped up in my newsfeed, and I'm like, why is everybody talking about this but the Manosphere? Like CNN, Fox News, your local news station, this YouTuber is talking about it. Everybody is talking about it but the Manosphere. And it's crazy because, again, if they are so for men and the well-being of men and men leveling up and things like that, well, why are they not talking about the crisis that they're under right now? It just does not make any sense. So let's get into this video.
All right, Sagar, what are you looking at?
Well, something we keep a close eye on here is the crisis of young men in the U.S. It's probably one of the most charged topics that we discuss, inevitably draws quite a bit of few toxic people in the discourse on all sides. But my biggest problem with the state of mainstream discourse is conflating toxicity with the idea that we don't have a serious problem. A stunning trove of new data from the Pew Research Group highlights just how big of a problem we have, one that soon could reach a total point of no return. The first is the rate of single young men versus single young women. 63% of young men today between the ages of 18 to 29 report being single. That is compared to 34% of young women. I guess in a vacuum, you could say, who cares? And
now, all day long, we hear about how these men scream from their mama's basements, their bedrooms with their roommates about how women are going to die alone. Statistically, that's not even true. This is why I like facts. I told y'all, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody in this space. And you want to know why? Because the truth is what it is. Like, you don't got to like my opinion. You don't got to like it at all. You don't have to like me at all. But at the end of the day, this is real talk with Yoni. We're going to talk about what's actually going on. Not what happened in the 80s. Not what happened in the 90s. Not what happened when you was out here dating in your 20s. We are talking about what's actually going on today. Today. Women are not the ones that are single. It's the men that are actually single and alone. That's the reality.
Let people do what they want. And I could actually agree with that. The problem, though, is that what people want is downstream of a lot of societal inputs that we do have a say over. For example, the reason that math doesn't work out is very simple. Most of those younger women who aren't single are dating older men. Why? Well, they report stability of older men who are able to provide for them financially. Ergo, it's not necessarily that women want to date older men. It's that economically, younger men simply aren't able to attain the baseline necessary for women to want to partner with them. This isn't exactly popular to say, but it is now unambiguously true. The wage gap that Lehman feminists insisted was the biggest problem in our society in the 2010s.
I have to chime in and say that it's not just financial reasons. It's also maturity level as well. Okay. Listen, I'm not about to sit up here and try to paint a 40-year-old man to be more mature, but I will say that a 40-year-old man will at least most likely go out and work consistently, compared to, it seems like the younger men of today, they feel like they don't need to work at all. I just got done talking to a lady today, and she was talking about how her niece has a baby daddy. They have 4 kids together, and this man, he just plays Xbox all day. He smokes marijuana. He doesn't take care of his kids, and she lets him. She lets him. So, you know, when you tend to deal with an older male, and when I say tend to, not all, because just because he older don't mean nothing. Some of these older men are tricksters too. But for the most part, they're used to working. They're used to going to a job every day trying to make something happen for themselves. These younger men, they don't really have no get up and go, no drive for real. They don't. It used to be back in the day that, you know, a man would have some things going on for himself so that he could get the women's attention and things like that. It's like these men don't even care about that. They don't care about women. They don't care about making friends. They care about the future. It's like what is really going on? And that's why they're calling it a crisis, because it's like, what is it going to take if it's not to get women, if it's not to better your future, if it's not to make money? What is it going to take for men to want to go out here and do things for themselves? If like, what is it going to take? It's just it's strange, y'all. We living through some strange times. And I also came across a book where it says the rise of women has created boys in men. The rise in women has created boys in men. I'll let that sink in.
That's basically dead. For those between the ages of 34 and below, the wage gap stands at some $43 per week. We have now reached effective wage parity. Actually, in many U.S. cities, young women actually out-earn young men. In the most upwardly mobile cities, places like Los Angeles, New York City, young women earn 102% of young men earn. And even in these places where they don't earn more, they earn roughly the same as much as their young male counterparts in the workforce. Why might this be? Well, it's a trend pointing towards women out-earning men as time passes. It all goes back to college. Women now outnumber men in the U.S. college-educated workforce. Again, why is this bad? Well, because higher wage jobs in our society are structured around having a bachelor's degree. A gender imbalance in graduates means a gender imbalance in wages, and in a decade, we are actually going to have the opposite wage gap in the United States. Wages, as we can see now, are directly tied to the dating market, where we have two pernicious things at play. Number one, wages aside, many college-educated women simply do not want to date someone who doesn't have a college degree. This sounds pretentious and snooty, but you can somewhat sympathize. College is
Now, why would a woman want to date a man that is not on her level? Why would a woman work on herself, go out of her way to sacrifice to get things right for her future, right? To get things in order for her future, and turn around and date a man who's not trying to do the same for himself? Because men try to make this about money all day long. They try to make it about money, money, money. Listen, only people who are not responsible will say money is not important. Money is always important. Everything in this world costs. Hell, water ain't even free. So when people say things like money is not important, yes, it is. We live in a capitalist society. Money is very important, and it will always be important as long as this system keeps going. So for the people that always be like, money is not, it is. It is. It determines what school you're going to go to. It determines what neighborhood you're going to live in. It determines if police are going to come when you call them in your neighborhood versus you live in a neighborhood where you call them and they don't show up. So money is important. It is. It just shouldn't control you. It shouldn't make you who you are. But it is important because of the society, the system that we live in. It is what it is. So because of that, why would a woman want to date a man that is not on her level when she has went out of her way to work on herself, to put herself in a better position within the system that we all have to live in, that we all have to work in, that we all have to sacrifice certain things for ourselves in order to get in a better position? Why would she want to go out here and date a man that's not on her level? If she decides to date a man that's not, he is instantly a dependent. So that means she either has to carry his load, some of his load, more of his load, and her full load, and not get any assistance at all. That doesn't make any sense. Why would she want to sign up for a partner like that? Who would want? I mean, we can look at it from a business perspective. Say there's there's two partners, and they're starting this business, and one partner has to pick up majority of the load. The other partner is only putting in where they can because that's all that they can do. So when it comes to this business, who do you think is going to carry more of the responsibility? The partner that has more to offer. So a woman is not going to willingly sign up for that. If she's smart, she's just not going to do that. She's not going to do that, because we all know how men are. Men want to be in charge. They want to be in control. They want to lead. They want to be dominant. Okay, well, if that's how you want to be, money talks. And it always will in a capitalist society. We didn't create these rules. Men did. We are just following them. And we're meeting them. And now that we're meeting them and men are not, they want to whine and bitch about it. It's pathetic. It is pathetic. And now they calling it a crisis. Like men didn't, like the forefathers of this country didn't create this system. Men created this system. Women didn't. And we had to fight to even get to this point. So what is the problem? What is the issue?
Good proxy for whether you share the same social values, type of media you enjoy, city life, shared experience you can relate to. Number 2, college is also a good proxy for whether you make decent money. So many women simply aren't culturally or economically interested in working class men. As the share of working class men rises compared to the share of college-educated women rises, we now have a full-blown cultural crisis in our hands. The crisis is one mostly confined to off.
And for the men that always want to get in my comment section talking about women are on antidepressants, man, you guys are unaliving yourselves, and sometimes selfishly unaliving the people that you're in relationships with, your children. Don't come to me in my comment section talking about women. Look at yourself. Worry about yourself. It's a hot mess over there. It's a hot mess. You got men dropping like flies. Either y'all killing each other, or y'all unaliving yourselves, or y'all, it's just a mess. But y'all be in women's business, worried about what women do, how we styling our hair, how submissive we are, what our weight is. Y'all are a freaking mess. Everything is a mess over there. Everything, literally. Everything is a freaking mess. It's crazy.
Conditions in male life. For all the talk in the media right now about teenage girls getting depressed, which is real, don't get me wrong, it's still not even close to as big as a problem right now as suicide amongst men. Right now, young men commit suicide at 4 times. Yes, 4 times the rate of younger women. Males make up nearly 80% of all suicides in the entire United States. How is that not the blaring headline across all outlets? But this actually underscores the issue. Nobody wants to talk about this because I think it validates toxic manosphere commentators. They would rather ignore it completely or deny that it's even a problem. Perhaps the most troubling part of the new data isn't just the rise in single men, but it's a growing nihilism that single men have towards relationships. The number of single American men who said that they are, quote, much less likely to be interested in starting any relationship of any kind increased a full 11% after the pandemic. It now stands at nearly 2/3 of all men. We are effectively in a vicious feedback loop. Societal factors say it's not a problem. Technology anesthetizes your brain better than ever before. Economically, you likely don't have a chance in hell at buying a house or vastly outpacing any female in the workplace based on your average wages. Why bother? Just do drugs, play games. To the extent that many men are even, quote, trying to date, many report that just means signing up for online dating and then not taking it all that seriously. Unsurprisingly, these attitudes are not all that attractive to women. Hence, they are bumping up the age bracket that they will consider to even date. The antisocial behavior doesn't just pertain to dating. It's all aspects of male life. The most recent survey of American life found that, quote, men appear to have suffered a far steeper decline than women. 30 years ago, a majority of men, 55%, reported having at least 6 close friends. Today, that number has been cut in half. Slightly more than 1 in 4 men have 6 or more close friends today. 15% of men have no close friends at all, a 5-fold increase since 1990. 500% in the number of men who say they have 0 close friendships. Women, on the other hand, see a slight decline in large numbers of friends, not even close to the same increase in complete friendlessness. Once again,
you guys, they're not even making friends. Not even making friends. They don't even have friends. Friends? Really? Friends? Friends? They're not even making friends. Talking about, we choose this life. It don't sound like it. It sounds like y'all not happy. That's what it sounds like. That's why they so angry, y'all. That's why I tell y'all, like, if a man is not if a man is not emotionally stable, stay the hell away from him. Like, emotion is anger. Emotion can be rage. Stay the hell away from them. And it's so serious. Like, it's so real out here. Like, stay the hell away from them. And if there's a young male crisis, that means that they are a danger to society. They are dangerous citizens, correct? So if there is a crisis, that means you need to stay the hell away from them, because they only think emotion is crying. No, emotion can be anger, it can be rage. So you need to stay the hell away from them. People be looking at me like I'm crazy when I say that, but I'm like, I grew up around boys. I grew up around brothers. When they are emotional, they tend to be enraged. So stay the hell away from them. It's really simple. Don't provoke them. Leave them the hell alone. It's really simple. And then if you think about someone that's unstable, okay, you can walk on eggshells, right? You can walk on eggshells, and then that one eggshell that you step on, it sets them off, and then the next thing you know, they are reacting in rage and they're blaming you for things and taking it out on you, and all you said was, do you want milk in your cereal? Like, it can literally be something as simple as that. Listen, it's real out here. Like, they're calling it a crisis. So if you see that a man is unstable emotionally, stay away from him. It's really simple. It's called protecting yourself. Oh, men definitely did this to themselves. They can't be really mad at nobody but themselves. The harder they tried to make it for women, the harder they actually made it on themselves. They came up with all the beauty hierarchy, then these wage gaps, all these things that these men were out here doing when they created the system to make it so hard for women. They have now made it hard on themselves. Think about that for a sec. That's why it goes back to the saying that I said. There was a book that was titled, "The Rise of Women Have Turned Men into Boys." It's almost like where we picked up, they slacked. And then there's this wider gap that is being created among men and women. It's just huge. Like, people keep saying it's the gender war, it's the gender war. No, it's education. It's the wage gap now. It's the fact that men are not even participating in the work field like they used to. But then they don't qualify because they're not going to school. So there's like this huge gap now between men and women. How are we supposed to partner with each other if y'all are slacking that much? I mean, by a long shot. By a long shot. And then they're not out here making friends. So it's like, as a woman, we can't even use you as a resource to socially connect us to other individuals, like-minded individuals. Like, what use are you to us at all? And when it comes to a partnership, both parties are supposed to benefit, both men and women. It's a give and take. It's a receive as well, right? So it's supposed to be even and balanced on both sides. But if men are slacking this much, like, where's the benefit for women? There isn't any. When you really think about it, there isn't any. And then the whole purpose, like, so many men are saying college isn't for me, but when you go to college, you know, you're supposed to meet your connects, your resources, your social group, like other like-minded men. But if you're not going off to college because you feel like you're too good for college, for whatever the case may be, it's like you're really missing out on that time in your life where you're supposed to have fun, you're supposed to meet friends, meet like-minded people that are trying to make something of themselves and be successful in life. But it's like, if you're not going to college, missing out on a big chunk of that experience that could carry you well into your future.
Again, it's a uniquely male phenomenon.
Y'all, what is going on in the chat? Y'all, be nice in the chat. What is going on in the chat? What is going on in the chat? Who is Mike? What did Mike say? Oh, Mike. Come on, Mike. Come on, Mike. And this is the thing. I need men to stop being delusional. I need y'all to stop being delusional. The more delusional y'all are, the more in denial y'all tend to be, the worse it's getting. The worse it's getting. Come on, Mike. Come on, Mike. Come on, Mike. Because the last I checked, black men are, if we're gonna talk about black men, because I titled this video Modern Men, but since you want to talk about black men, y'all are costing the economy billions every year because you refuse to participate in the work field. So y'all in school, that's why y'all not participating in the work field. Can you make it make sense to me? Because men, like, y'all not even going to school. Black men, I know they don't, y'all. And the only time black men go to school is if they have some type of scholarship in sports. That's the only time I ever see a black male go to college. And then the coach has got to fight you to attend class. They got to fight you to make the grades so that you can stay on the team. They got to fight you the whole way to graduation. So what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Some can't afford to go, but it's like most that can't afford to go, unless they're middle class, like the government will pay for you to go to school. I'm confused.
People with fewer friends report, unsurprisingly, being much more lonely, often find themselves relying on their parents in very tough moments, as opposed to a generation ago they would have called friends. You can't just blame technology because it's not happening to women as much. The spike, the increase everything, points to men. I don't know how you fix it. I have no earthly idea. But like with the book of Boys and Men by Richard Reeves, you have to acknowledge that we have a problem. You have to ruminate it, you have to debate it, you have to have everyone propose something, and then eventually you throw everything you can at.
Everyone can't get rich, y'all. This is what's wrong with society now. Y'all think everybody gonna be rich. Everybody not gonna be rich. There are gonna be average people in the world, y'all, that go to work based off of their college education, and that's their life. Everybody not gonna be rich. Y'all are so sold on the entrepreneur bullshit. Let me tell you something about entrepreneurship. It costs. It costs. You know what? You want to know how much I had to pay in taxes this year? $10,000 plus. $10,000. You want to pay $10,000 in taxes? You want to pay $10,000 in taxes? That whole promotion, these info commercials that these entrepreneurs be making, these get rich scams that they be creating out here are scams, y'all. They're scams. They are scams. Getting rich and staying rich, those are two totally different conversations. So, like, y'all want to talk about entrepreneurship. Y'all don't want to talk about them taxes, though. Y'all want to talk about entrepreneurship, but y'all don't want to talk about the benefits that you don't have when you're an entrepreneur. Y'all don't want to talk about that. Y'all don't want to talk about that. Y'all don't. Y'all only glorify the positive side of entrepreneurship. When you get sick, who's taking your place? You got employees? You got a manager? By the way, when you have employees, you have to pay those employees. By the way, if you have a person that's in a management position, you got to pay them a management salary. By the way, y'all got to stop allowing like people on social media to like sell you a dream and have you so sold on it that you think that it's easy. It's really not. What about healthcare? Have you been on Marketplace? You know how expensive it is to get healthcare on Marketplace? Dental, vision. And I'm talking about good healthcare. Not just the basic, but the good stuff. Then if you open up a business, the property taxes, you ready to pay for that? People don't ever want to talk about it. I'm not trying to convince no one to get a college degree because it really isn't for everybody. But everybody's not going to get rich from just being an entrepreneur. Everyone is not going to live that life. Social media feeds you that lie every day, and people fall for it every day. And you know what? I have a friend. She's a realtor, and she has made an Instagram page for entrepreneurs, influencers, and she basically tries to get them aesthetically pleasing apartment complexes or rental properties, or even if they wanted to buy a home. Do you not understand that people don't be having their taxes together in order for them to get approved for a lease or a loan, because they don't even do the paperwork behind their business? So they get denied a lot. And she got to deal with that. And she thinking that based off of their Instagram, based off of how they present themselves on social media, she thinking they got their shit together and they don't. Stop going off of what you see online. It don't mean nothing. It's just a photo. It is just a photo. That is it.
At it, because if we don't, I think the one thing that anyone can even remotely who's historically literate can say is that hell hath no fury like a bunch of single men with no prospects in society. So anyway, I thought this data was...
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully...
Trade schools, I don't see anything wrong with a trade school, but a lot of y'all not in trade schools either. The numbers would reflect that. What trade school was popular when my dad was coming up. My dad went to a trade school. Y'all not in trade schools like that. Y'all not. So if it's not college, then it's trade school. If it's not trade school, then it's you starting a business with an LLC and your business is registered with the state and the government. Those numbers do not reflect that is what you guys are doing at all. So that's just bullshit. I don't even know where y'all getting that from. And if that was the case, the economy would actually reflect that, but it doesn't. And that's what I'm saying. You guys are not pulling your weight. You're not pulling your weight. That's why they're calling it a crisis. Like, you're actually causing issues within the economy. We all are affected by that. Come on, like, y'all need to start doing y'all's research. There's nothing wrong with trade school. Like, there's nothing wrong with going to a trade school at all. There's nothing wrong with that. But y'all not going though. That's the issue. The issue isn't about what you choose to do with your life, whether that's become an entrepreneur, go off to his trade, go off and do a trade, or go off to college and get a PhD. It's not about that. It's y'all not doing that though. That's the issue. It's your lack of actually doing that. That's all. If you would actually do that, then we wouldn't even be here having these conversations. That's what I'm saying. Like, in denial, heavy denial. Heavy denial. And then Black women are about to get to a point where we're neck and neck to you guys when it comes to income. We are neck and neck. We are neck and neck when it comes to income. We're about what, 10,000? Probably less than 10,000 away from being neck and neck. We're like almost there. Not that far off at all. I'm going to take, I would say, about 5 calls here if you want to call in. But please, 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 when you call in, be courteous of the fact that other people want to come up here and talk as well. Yeah, like, they could even go to school to just get an associate's, then go get a trade and be done. Like, a lot of these young men don't even have a plan. And you want to know why they don't have a plan? Because they don't even know who they are. They trying to figure out, they going off of what some man is telling them on social media on who they need to be and who they are. So of course they're confused. I don't see nothing wrong with a regular job. I ain't everybody. Regular jobs got benefits. Regular jobs have health care. I don't see nothing wrong with regular jobs. Social media got y'all's mind messed up. That's not my fault. It's called disconnect. And then if you don't want to disconnect from social media, how about you disconnect from the toxic spaces that you are putting yourself in? Because there's so many different spaces on social media. You don't have to be in those toxic spaces where they make fun of 9-to-5 workers. That's crazy. Like, 9-to-5 workers keep this economy up and running. If we don't have 9-to-5 workers, how is this economy going to be up and running? I appreciate 9 to 5 workers, people who go to work every day, Monday through Friday, and they clock in at their job. That's what I'm talking about. Immature mindsets. Leaving Black Estanian. Go ahead, sis. What would you like to add, or sir, what would you like to add to this conversation?
Yeah, hello. I was in the chat as Global Reset Queen. And
Okay.
yeah, I just wanted to input. You don't have to go to college to make 6 figures. And yeah, so I've been working in IT for 10 years. And
Oh,
yeah, and I finally broke the 100,000 mark, climbed my way up the corporate ladder.
congratulations.
Yeah, I'm going to start teaching classes and stuff like that. But yeah, the dude in the chat was talking about he's in trade school, he makes 100K, and I'm just like, what field are you in? That doesn't even make any sense if you're still in school and then you're doing that. So it's like,
Share the information though. Like he needs to share the I mean, if it's true,
yeah.
Share that information. One thing, men like to lie about is how much money they make, and women like to lie about their weight and their dress size. I say this all the time. Men lie about their money and their finances, their credit scores. Women lie about their dress size and their weight. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So if that's true, why don't you share with other men what you're doing to make that kind of money? Because college is not for everybody. I've seen so many people, actually, interesting enough, I've seen nurses, a lot of them go from the nursing industry, the medical industry, to the IT industry, and they love it.
Mm-hmm. Well, the sad thing is he's saying he makes 100K, like that's something to brag about. You have to realize after taxes, that's about 75K. And then
Right.
also because of inflation, the new 100,000, the goalpost has moved to 500,000.
Oh yeah.
Do you understand? So 100,000
Right.
is nothing.
Right.
That's nothing. And then if you have a kid, are you joking?
Oh,
So, yeah.
And you can always tell when a man he doesn't really have it like that, because the way he talks, like you said, you picked up on that real quick.
Yeah,
We
and
all
also,
know us people that are actually out here making over $100,000. We know it's not a lot of money, because we're like, what
yeah.
the hell? It's like I feel like I need to make $500,000, like you said, in order
Yeah.
to be middle class.
Yeah, and my goal is actually multi-millions, just so even if I make $1 million, I'll still be happy. But yeah, the goalpost has moved. It's not the 1980s anymore. 100,000 is not a lot of money. Like
It's not.
that's pennies.
Yeah, it goes away. It goes so fast, you guys, and it's really sad. But are you a millennial, or are you a Gen Z or Gen Xer?
1992, so millennial. Yeah.
Millennial. Okay, yeah. So it seems like us millennials is like we're kind of getting the shorter end of the stick, because the goalpost has moved, and it's like we have to work harder just to get to get a leadway that our parents didn't even really have to make to be like good,
Yeah. Well, the thing is, my mom never made over $12 an hour.
Oh
And
wow.
he's from like the country of like in Louisiana, like Baton Rouge. And so you have to understand, she thinks I'm rich. And I'm like, Mom, are you joking?
Yeah.
No, not at all. But yeah, I see some people in the chat, they're like, they feel like they're broke. And it's like, you do have to step your game up, or else you will forever be in poverty, because the goalpost every 10 years is moving. We're literally going through a global reset wealth transfer right now.
Yep.
And a lot of these billionaires are losing their billionaire status. So you better get that bread legally hand so you can survive the next 20, 30, 40 years, because they're getting rid of government assistance. Like it's about to get really bad in like the next 10, 20 years. So we have to prepare now. And that's why I'm the global reset queen and I've left Blackistan.
Yes. I love that. Thank you so much for coming up here and sharing. Oh, I don't know what happened. It just disconnected. Okay. Mr. Percy, you're up next, sir. What would you like to add to this conversation?
How you doing, Yoni? How you doing? Good evening.
I'm doing well, sir. How are you?
I love your show. I love you. You're beautiful. Your subs also.
Thank you.
First of all, I do have a slight stutter, so I'm not a slight stutter. So just give you a little warning.
Okay.
I haven't gotten chat right. I'm a truck driver, right? I have my own truck. I'm a blue collar worker. I have my own truck. I make about 200,000 a year, easy. What I was saying
Now,
is that
how are you making $200,000 a year easy? Can you explain that to men that may be tuning in?
easy. I have an 18 wheeler. I
Mhm.
transport goods. I transport goods from point A to point B cross country. It's easy. That's that. If you have your own truck, that's the average thing for a truck driver, around 200,000 a year or more, depending on the economy. What I'm saying is
Okay.
that most men, yes, you're right. Oh yeah, you got a point. A lot of black men are not in 4-year schools, but we are in trade schools. Electricians, carpenters, truck drivers, plumbers. We are there. We're there. So when
In droves.
well, you know what, Yanni, I'm from the South, and when they do these studies, when they say, well, we're not in school like that, they mean like
Mhm.
4-year schools. Because most of these white guys who do these studies, they don't count a trade school as a real school. So you
You
put,
don't think in modern times that they're not including trade schools with these statistics in these studies that they're doing now?
you know what,
Because I'm
Yanni,
gonna go look into it.
they may, but a lot of times these white guys who are highly educated, they go off 4 year stats only. But what I'm saying is that, Yanni, in my lifetime, I'm only 32. In my lifetime, I'm seeing all these black men going to trade schools, electricians, carpenters, plumbers, all kinds. So we are in school. We are
So
in
if you
school.
guys if you guys are in trades, right? If you guys are in trade schools, why are you guys not participating in the work field? Why are you guys costing the economy billions of dollars each year?
What do you what do you what do you what do you mean? Like
You
Yanni,
guys are not participating in the work field. Like you guys, if you guys are going to a trade, I'm assuming that you guys are eventually going to go to work. You guys are
well,
costing the economy 50 billion a
we know what
year for
Yanni.
not participating. Participation.
We know what, Yanni. One more thing, Yanni. A lot of these guys who have their own trades, a lot of these guys going to get their own business also. I
Okay,
mean,
but
because
everything, if you live in this system, you work in this system, everything has to be reported.
you're right. I
Okay,
get
so
that.
either your business is being reported through the government, through the IRS, or you're filling out a W-2 when you go apply for a job. You guys are
You're right.
not participating based off of those two reasons. Like you're
We
not
know,
filling out your tax information. So either it's bad business that you're conducting, okay,
I
or
got you.
you're not applying yourself at all.
We know what, Yanni. Like I said, I'm 32, so I'm more like old school and new school. I'm more like in between. Maybe it's the new generation. I'm not sure. All I know is I'm 32, and my generation, from what I've seen, we are in trade schools. Maybe this is a new study, and I don't know. Maybe these young guys. I don't know, because I know now the young guys
Well,
now.
did you pay attention to the age range?
No, I didn't.
Okay, well, it's
I didn't.
between the ages, I believe it was 18 and 30 or 29, somewhere in
Okay,
there.
you know what? You know what? Then you know what? That could be true. It could be true. It could be true. I'm not sure. It could be true. I hope not, but it could be true. Um, I would say this though. The young guys today, from what I've seen, want to be a rapper, want to be play sports. They got a mixtape, so it could be true.
Well,
It's sad.
when you look at black culture, that is the number one thing that it promotes for black men is to be in sports, to be a rapper, to be in some form of entertainment because that's where the money is at.
Well, you know what? It's kind of sad because the sad thing is when it comes to black men, that's what's pushed to us. When I was in school, even when I was in high school, we had guys that want to go to pro sports. And I'm not liking that, but I'm saying that that's pushed to us. There are a lot of jobs that we don't even know about, have even heard of, like coding, like this. But I'm saying, like, in high school and in our culture, that's pushed on us. Mixtape rapper or ball player or
But
trap star or
you don't think that it is the black man's job to raise the younger men in the culture to want those things?
good point. But know what, Yanni? this conversation is very layered because you know what, it's layered because you know what, you're right. You got a good point. If you don't have a father in your life, to give you the game of life, you're gonna fall to your homeboys. You know what I'm saying? I was raised by a father, so I came out of high school with a real plan. No mixtape, no rapper, no pimp, no drug. I had a realistic plan. I'm going to a trade school. I'm going to become a truck driver, get my own truck, and have my own business. I didn't have these dreams of glory from the streets. But
Are you giving
no,
back to your community?
yeah, I am. My church. My church. Yeah, my church.
What church do you go to?
Oh, it's a small church in the South. A small church.
What's it called?
It's called it's called Shabbat Outreach Ministry.
Okay.
But Lord Yanni, I like your show. You're very conscious. I like your intelligence. But what I would say, Yanni, is that, you know, Yanni, today, a lot of young men with no fathers, being raised by Lil Wayne, being raised by Future. If you a young man with no father, no direction and guidance, your father is Lil Wayne, Future.
Well, why are they? This is my thing. You keep talking about fathers and how, you know, they don't have them. Why are women blamed for the fathers that are not present?
You know what, Yanni? To be honest, Yanni, I watch these podcasts. These guys are trying to blame single moms. My question is, who made them single moms? My mom had 6 kids by 3 different guys. All the guys left her. She had 6 kids she raised on her own. My mom was struggling with 6 kids. So my question to these guys on the podcast is, who made them single moms? The black man did. The man did.
So how do you feel about your father?
To be honest, to be real with you, Yanni, my dad had 2 sons, my brother and me.
Mm-hmm.
He was young and dumb. He left us for 15 years. He got saved.
Mm-hmm.
He found God. He found God.
Mm-hmm.
And he felt guilty for leaving his sons. Came back in our lives at 15 years old, and he raised us.
And how did that make you feel for him to just leave and then come back?
You know what, Yanni? I was kind of pissed off because I got shot in the back when I was 15. My brother sold drugs. So what happened was, it's not a perfect story. Yes, he made good, but we went through our teenage years as wild young boys. I got shot, brother sold drugs, went to jail. So even though he came back in our lives, we still experienced some damage, some trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So through the grace of God, I forgave him. You know, I forgave him. You know,
okay. I mean, that's good, but I do feel like he missed out on an important chunk, you know, of a young male's life. You know,
he did.
Like that can
he did
have some long term effects.
You know, Yanni, it's not perfect because you know what, Yanni, even though he came back in our lives, our relationship is not real close. So it's not perfect. It's not perfect.
Right.
When a man leaves his kid, even though he's trying to come back in the kid's life, some damage is still done.
Right.
So,
right.
yes,
No, seriously, I know. Yeah.
Because even to this very day, we're not real close.
Well, do you have any kids now?
To be honest, Johnny, as a young kid, my mom had 6 kids. She was struggling. I said, even as a young kid, I said, man, this is, even as a young kid, I said, you know what? My mom is struggling with all these kids. I saw the pain in her eyes. I said, when I get a grown man, I won't do it to no woman. So watching my mother struggle as a kid, I thought myself, I won't do to, because that is like getting someone's pregnant and then leaving them like that by themselves is damaging.
So you haven't fathered any children?
I haven't.
Okay, that's good. You're breaking the cycle. Okay.
I cannot see myself getting a woman pregnant for for 9 months, then leaving her by herself. That's, I mean, in our church, you know what, Johnny, in our church, the Bible says, if a man won't take care of his own kid, he's a fool. I mean,
Yeah, of course.
so my thing
Yes.
is, I can't see that. I can't see myself giving a woman a child and then just leaving her by herself. Because in my opinion, when I stand before God, I got to answer to God for that.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't do it.
Well, thank you for coming up here
No
and
problem.
sharing your story, but I do need to move on. You have
No
a nice
problem.
day, okay?
Take care. Love you.
All
Bye.
right.
Take care.
Okay, Mr. Torch, you are up next.
Hello, mic check, 1, 2.
Hello, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Good. I'm doing lovely. What would you like to add to the conversation today?
By the way, it's an excellent conversation. The core concern is obviously Black men. We need to take ownership and responsibility for our own mistakes and our own success. I mean, if you don't, then you get in what's called what I call pretty much a loser's syndrome or a series where you're taking L's, but you're blaming those L's you're taking on somebody else. Most of the time, it falls onto Black women,
Mm.
you know. But then there's a situation where Black men, if we're supposed to be, you know, how there's supposed to be the Black men superiority complex where we're supposed to be better than Black women, and you know how Kevin Samuels would say, "Oh yeah, you know, you Black women are emotional and Black men are logical," but unfortunately, the courts don't agree with that. So,
So what do you think are the mistakes that Black men have made?
it's okay. Believe it or not, it's okay to make a mistake if you either atone for it or you learn from it and then atone for it. You know, but you can't make a mistake and then blame it on somebody else.
Right. So you feel like there's no accountability. Where do you think the accountability lacks?
I believe it seems to be a lot of younger Black men have not been brought up with that component built in.
You don't think it's older Black males either?
Oh yeah, we messed up too.
But how?
Well. Yeah, I mean the thing is, yes, absolutely. I tried to do, you know, my work for the community. I work for the school districts and help for homeless centers and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, you can see the older Black men that are on, in the YouTube streets, how they are reinforcing the blame on Black women instead of saying Black men. I mean, think about it like this, Yoni. How many channels do you go to where you see a Black man holding his subs accountable? Saying,
I don't.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't. And it's really sad because when you lack accountability, and this is coming from a woman who holds herself accountable, who takes accountability for my own life and the decisions that I've made. When you don't take accountability, it keeps you stagnant, it keeps you stuck, it keeps you just in the same cycle. Right. And generationally, that is something that I'm seeing in men today is they're stuck. And it's like they're in sand, they can't move, or they're in mud and they just getting themselves dirty, but they can't seem to get themselves out of that. And it's hard to watch because, you know, as a Black woman, I was in the same position, but I had to pull myself out of that. And by me pulling myself out of that, my way of doing that was by taking accountability and ownership for my life. I used to go around blaming everybody for my problems. And when I realized that the more I blamed other people and how unaffected they were and how affected I was, that's when I started to hold myself accountable and focus more on myself and less on others and the things that people do to me. So it's not that I'm here saying these things as if I don't understand. I definitely understand, but it's hard when, as a woman, I look to men in a way where I feel like they should have it more figured out than me.
Right.
But it seems like they lack
If
in
that
that
theory
area.
was true, if that theory of men are supposed to be, you know, the leaders was true, and I call it a theory because unfortunately we haven't done much to reinforce that, at least in the Black community.
Mm.
I have, hey, I've been out there, I've seen the results, so I can't really, there's nothing to defend. To be honest with you, I would find that Black women are more logical than Black men.
Oh.
Clearly. I
Now,
mean,
can you please explain, what do you think is more logical when it comes to us?
basically, schooling,
Mm.
jobs. You're not trying to hit a, Black women are not trying to hit a home run
Right.
like Black men are. Not trying to be a rap star, or not trying to spend up money on, when we do get a job, we're not spent Black women are usually not spending all of their money on trinkets and stuff like that, believe it or not.
Right.
Even though the market might try to sell you trinkets, usually Black women have been more logical. There, I dare anybody to come. If you had a smoke show and just said, "I dare you men to show me how you guys are spending your money better," you'd wipe the floor with them, because we just don't. We don't.
Yeah.
Most of and though I've learned, but I'm still a Black man, so I'm going to say we. But
Right.
at the same time, I've cleaned up my act as far as that's concerned.
Yeah,
But
I've seen men blow money, especially in clubs, on sections, especially after moving to Houston. And I'm just like, they will literally blow so much of their money. And it's an ego thing. At first, I'm thinking,
Right.
oh, they're trying to impress women. But then I came to the realization that it's an ego thing for men to be that man in the room. And I started noticing that when I was going out to these clubs in Houston when I first got here, that there would be times where men would buy a section, and they would it would be like a silent competition between the men, like who could buy the most bottles for the section and who could have the most women in the section. But when you think about it, all of that stuff costs. None of
right.
that stuff is free. Like, none of those girls are going to go to your section if you don't have, the drinks to supply them with everything that they want to be in your section for. So
Right.
it was just seeing men spend. And I mean, I've seen men come out of there spending like 50,000, 60,000 in a night.
Yeah, it's pure lunacy. What they're doing is they're buying moments.
Right.
They want to seem like they're, they want to, even if they might even have a fairly decent job, but they
Yeah.
don't have, $1 million jobs, but they still want to be seen as a star.
Right.
And that's the issue. And see, Black women, from even younger Black women, don't have that kind of mentality. The majority of Black women just are, believe it or not, are intrigued with education and getting a good job. I know this because that's what my daughter did. She didn't try to become a rapper. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
She had the opportunity because she knew some of a lot of the famous Bay Area rappers. I'm from the Oakland area. But she didn't try to go into that field. After she got around, 19, and it's time to go to college, she went to college. While all of her the male friend, well, guess where they went? They were trying to get rap contracts and whatever, and ended up they ended up being the baby daddies of multiple women and so on and so forth. Younger Black women are more logical than younger Black men generally.
And you want to know why? Do you want to know why? I have to be real with you. The reason why women are more logical is because from a very young age, we're forced to be.
Yes.
It's embedded in us to be more logical, and the reason is because we're taught to survive with no one. So when we think of having success, we think of a house, we think of a car, we think of education, you know, we think of being able to take care of ourselves simply. But when it comes to men, it's completely different. You know, it's not logical. It's really not logical when you sit here and you think about it, because it's all about the fame, the glory, the recognition, the praise, and it's really it's based off of the wrong things like women, money, just being around certain people and
Exactly.
things like that. So it's completely different. So I have to ask you, like, what do you think is going to be something that men can work on to change that?
Well, fighting their addiction to sex will be a
Oh,
start.
oh, true.
Okay. Um, the the difference between us black men and other races is that we put a very high value on just sex, not women,
Mm-hmm.
sex in itself.
Mm,
Okay. Because if black men, if we put value in women, we
mm-hmm.
would be marrying said women, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our marriage rate would be higher, but
Mm-hmm.
we don't value that. We value sex
Mm. And I've
because
noticed that. I've noticed there's a huge drop off when I started dating out. I started noticing that other races of men are not hypersexual. You know, they don't try the conversation, and really it's the conversation. They don't narrate the conversation sexually at all. They try to actually get to know the woman first and see if there's common interest, see if there could be something, and then they go from there. But it's not super sexual in the beginning when it comes to them. But with black men, it seems to be hypersexual, sexually driven. That's the objective, that's the goal, that's the success in the whole meeting the woman. And it's really sad, because if I was a man and I had access to women, women are incredible. Like, they're smart, they're a resource, you know, they have connections that could potentially connect them to other people. And I don't understand why men don't see that, but because they're so blinded by sex, they tend to miss out on opportunities.
exactly.
Mm,
That's exact. You nailed it.
mhm,
It's exactly that. They're missing. They're see chasing after sex.
mhm,
It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of mental capacity. People,
mhm.
it's it's easier to do trigonometry than to try to manipulate women into giving you sex,
Mm,
believe it or not. So these men, they're using up all of this energy that they could be using to get to build themselves into good men.
right.
They're using it just for a temporary fix of their addiction.
Mm-hmm.
So
And when you think about like how smart and creative you have to be a manipulator in that way, you should be successful in business. You should, like,
yes,
it's like the drug dealer of the neighborhood, super smart, business minded. He could definitely run his own company, but his mindset and his mentality and his behavior is just being applied wrong. But if
exactly.
he applied it in this other area, he would actually be very successful. So that's the thing when it comes to black women. It's like we see the potential, but it's like we can't force you guys to put that energy into yourselves in a way that is actually going to be long-term success. You
Right.
guys have to do that for yourselves. And so we have just really taken a step back, and we're more focused on ourselves, and we're elevating in that way. But we're seeing that by us doing that, it's really creating a larger gap, and that's why there's now a crisis. So
Exactly.
how do you feel about this turning into a crisis all of a sudden?
It wasn't all of a sudden.
You don't think so?
It built up. I think everybody's just
Hmm.
now promoting
Seeing
it,
it. Mm-hmm.
you know. But this is something you could see coming. I would say back in the 2000s, when this was when I was really, in the clubs doing my DJ thing. And
Mm-hmm.
even back then, it's like, man, just by the change in the music, and
Mm.
by the news and by what I saw going on in the clubs, where like back then in the 2000s, a hip hop club would last about, I don't know, 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
An R&B club, it would last, you know, as long as you would want it to. It was just a mentality, if you see what I'm saying. Yeah, hip hop, as much as I love the genre, it's mostly destructive.
Yes. Yeah.
It's I mean, back in the day, the way it bloomed was that there was, for every, let's say, toxic hip hop track, there might have been an uplifting hip hop track. Let's say Common, you know, was hot back then.
Right.
So you had a little bit of you know, equal. It was more equal, and they both kind of canceled each other out.
Right.
We didn't make much progress, but we weren't destroying ourselves either.
Right.
Today it's different. It's mostly like for every 100, you know, toxic hip hop tracks, you have maybe one that might have some resemblance of being uplifting, but it's mostly neutral, you know.
Right.
It doesn't hurt, but it doesn't help.
It doesn't help. Right.
And that's basically the mentality of I would say the majority of Black men in America. That's the mentality of it.
Yeah.
They'd rather be Future than be Russell Wilson. I mean, they to the point where they will clown Russell Wilson.
Right. And the man has money. He seems to be healthy. He seems to like his life. You know, he doesn't seem depressed. He doesn't seem drained, overworked, tired. He seems like he lives a well life. It's just it's corny to them, and it's so weird to me.
Yeah, here's the extra sad part. Finally, you know, Ciara finally releases a song. Sounds decent to me. And people have a problem with that. But remember now, I don't mind you having a problem with that track if you want to have a problem with it. You have that right to feel that way. But when you ignored all that other toxic stuff, okay, I mean, we're talking hundreds of toxic hits.
Oh, I know.
Okay? Hundreds.
Throat Baby was one of them for me. I just couldn't understand that song.
And they had no problem with it.
Nope.
But when somebody releases an empowerment track, married or not married, they have an issue.
Yeah.
So it's scary because you're thinking, wow, if they're willing to go after a person who just made an empowerment track, just like well, way back in the day, there was Whitney Houston made "I'm Every Woman," right?
Yeah.
If she was to release that today, they'd probably be all over it. Like, this is disgusting. Why are you trying to bring women up over Black men? You see what I'm saying? They would be doing that today.
Yeah.
So it's scary to see a regression. I mean, we should be a community of, we want to see everybody win.
Right. Because if everyone is winning, there's nothing really to complain about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to me, a lot of people, they just saw it as, well, you know, it was, she's married. She's not supposed to, you know, be singing single women stuff. But okay, so what men are these women these Black women supposed to marry? Where is the hope? You see what I'm saying?
It's outside of the Black community, and it just doesn't get any realer than that. It's outside of the Black community. And a lot of people feel some type of way about that because they feel like we are committing genocide against our own people. But our men have left us really with no choice. Are we just supposed to be miserable and not find our happiness and not find love? Or are we supposed to remain loyal and be down with them and be miserable? We've seen what that has gotten the Gen Xers, the boomers, and even some of the late millennials, the older millennials. And so we really don't want that. They don't seem happy. You know, they seem like they wasted so much of their life and their time and things like that. So now women are making that hard choice to try something completely new, completely different, and go outside of the community to see where that gets us, because we know what stain has gotten women before us, and it just doesn't seem like they are happy. So
the key goal to that, and as a black man, what I would say is this: you don't want to force yourself into going outside. And what I mean is that don't run out of a situation where you're just chasing after Caucasian pookies or Asian pookies. You want to be extremely selective.
Right.
That's the best way I can put it. If a black man just happens to fall into that, fine.
Right.
But don't. I would not look at black men first.
I wouldn't either. I mean, they're not marriage minded, so it's hard to put them in a lineup anyway if they're not marriage minded, and a black woman is marriage minded. So I always tell the girls on my channel to just be open, know what you want. When you know what you want, then you know what you don't want. And when you carry yourself in that way, the cards are just going to lay where they lay. And because black men are not marriage minded, a lot of them are just not going to be at the very top of your list when it comes to potentials. It is what it is. So I would just keep it at that. But thank you, DJ Torch, for coming up here and sharing your thoughts with us. I really do appreciate it. But I'm going to move on to the next caller, okay?
Sounds good. You have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, Nature Calling, you're up next.
Hi, Yoni.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. What would you like to add to the conversation today?
But real quick first, the man who was speaking, he said that I guess he means like the black community never tried to get rap music off the air, and that's actually not true. Back in the early 90s, her name escapes me, but it was a black woman who made petitions, and she actually marched in the streets. Like a lot of parents were marching in the streets, and they were like during the time of like NWA and Ice Cube and all of them. And she was like, this music is going to destroy our community. Right.
What was her name again?
Her name escapes me, but if you keep this live up, I'll look her name up and I'll put it in the comments.
Okay. Perfect.
Her name escapes me, but I know she made petitions and she literally marched in the streets saying rap music is going to be detrimental to our community. We already just got over the crack epidemic. We don't need this other caveat to associate with that. And what did black people do? They called her a hater. They harassed her. They said that, it was a whole bunch of, they were harassing her, calling her phone all hours of the night. So what did she do? If you're being threatened, you're going to stop.
Right.
You guys want this so bad? Okay, then forget it. I'm just going to mind my business. And then after that, that's when white politicians started coming in, and then that's when they wanted to regulate rap music. But she started it first. The parents of that community came together and they're like, this music is detrimental to our people. And then when that failed, the white politicians also tried. And then what happened? It was, the white man is trying to silence us black people.
I do remember a little bit of that. Okay.
But I'll definitely give you the name of the woman. Her name escapes me, but I'll definitely find it.
They put it in the chat.
Oh, they did. Okay, great.
Seems like she's passed too.
I think she was elderly then. I feel like she was maybe a grandmother at the time. I'm not sure. But yeah, she tried, and a lot of parents did try. But to the point of the video, I really had to say this is really sad. So I saw this video. There's a lot of information coming out about men, and you know how they like to say modern women. Like they're not also living in modern times with us.
No, they're not.
But it makes sense why they're not in modern times with us, because with all these stats and articles coming out, they can't live in modern times with us because they're being so held back in their stuff that they can't move forward. So yeah, they are living in the past because they can't move forward. It's like it's unseeable for them. And there was an article on Reddit where a man even said that he doesn't even remember the last time he's hugged anyone or someone has hugged him like in a genuine affection. And I was like, with this video now that you just showed, I was like, this is so sad. You don't even remember the last time that you've received genuine love and affection in a hug.
No, and it doesn't even
seem human being.
It doesn't seem like they get it from their friends either.
No,
Which is
but it makes
shocking to
sense
me.
now. They don't have friends.
Yeah, which I'm learning that. I'm learning that they don't have friends. And it is so shocking to me because it seems like that's all they care about is male validation, male socialization. It just seems like they want to be with their alleged friends, but it don't seem like they really actually have friends. So it's so weird to me.
And then it kind of is like a full caveat. Like it kind of came all full circles for me. It's like, if you're not participating in the workforce, you don't even
Mhm.
have work associates, right? To speak to talk to. And if
Mhm.
you don't have real friends in your everyday life that you can vent to and talk to, and I don't know their family dynamic, but maybe they've burnt all their family bridges. So you
Mm,
have no one to talk to. So then I'm like, this is why they're so fixated and have this ire for women, because women are the only thing for them that has some type of meaning, right? It's the
right,
only place that they can get some type of affection. And they consider women obviously as social currency. The more women they have, the more intercourse they have with more
right,
women. They're the alpha male, they're the big guy on top, right? Every guy
right.
wants to be them. And if they don't even know genuine intimacy as just a hug from a friend, just says, "Hey, I love you,"
Right.
that's why they consider intercourse intimacy. They don't realize that intercourse is not intimacy. You can have intercourse with anyone and be like, "Okay, bye," and never
Right.
see that person ever again. But to them, if you're not getting that from anywhere else in your life, getting it from a woman would be paramount to them. And I feel like that's why they're so fixated on women. And when they
Uh,
don't get women, it literally burns them inside. Like it brings
but
all their
this
failures to the surface.
this may sound a little intrusive, but to the girls that are in the chat, and even if you can respond to this, have you ever been sexually intimate with a black male, and you realize that he actually doesn't know how to be intimate? He just knows how to be sexual, but not intimate. Like true intimacy can be touch, it could be conversation, it could be expressing one's feelings and things like that. That is the number one thing that I have seen so much in black men, where I feel like there's no hope for them as a partner. And the reason is because as women, that's something that we need. Like we need that intimacy, we need that emotional connection, but black men are like almost incapable of giving us that. And so when you look at them, it's kind of awkward being intimate with them because they don't know how to actually be intimate. They just think it's put it in, take it out, that's it. But they don't know what real intimacy is. They don't know that it could be touch, it could be sitting in silence. They don't even know that you could literally share a intimate connection with a person and not even really speak, barely even touch.
Yeah, comfortable
Maybe just
silence.
show eye contact. They unfortunately don't know what it is, and it's keeping them emotionally stunted, handicapped. It's like dealing with a child, because as we mature as women, they're not maturing.
No.
And the lack of emotional intelligence, it's like women need that. Because we're going to therapy. And so it was bad before, but I feel like it's getting worse now because women are now getting emotional intelligence because we're going to therapy and they're not.
I can
So,
say, to answer your question, I went on a date. I want to say this was like last year. I went
mhm,
on a date with a man. He seemed pretty okay. And I was like, you know what? He was cute. So I
mhm,
gave him a kiss goodnight. It was a very PG-13. It was just like lips touching.
mhm.
That's it, right? He was like, "Oh, you trying to have me catch feelings?" And I was like,
Oh
"What?"
wow. Oh wow.
And I was just like, "Huh?"
Mhm. Mhm.
I said, "Okay." I didn't even know what to say. I was
Mhm.
just like, "Okay, well, good night." And I never called that man again. Like I never
Yeah.
spoke to him again.
They don't know the many different layers to intimacy, and it's like when you date outside of your race, the men do know the many different layers of intimacy. Like they know the touch, they know common interests. You can share intimacy with common interests in social settings. You don't have to be in the bedroom, you know. It's totally different experience. It's a totally different experience. And it's almost like men outside of the Black community know how to build up that intimacy, you know how to build up, not to build up the intimacy, but they know how to use intimacy to build up the sexual intimacy that you could share with a person. But when it's Black men in the community, it's just, there's only one form of that.
Yeah, and as I've gotten older, like I feel like a lot of women are like coy, they're flirtatious.
Mhm.
You can't be like that with them. They take it very seriously, and it's
Oh
like,
yeah,
relax,
yeah,
calm down. Like I'm
yeah.
just, like you can, like with my male coworkers at work, they get it. Of other races, they'll compliment me on my hair. They'll do like, and we get it.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, go back to work. It's
Yeah.
no weird. But with them, they take it very seriously.
Yeah, it's
And
animal like. I keep saying
yeah,
it's animal like. I keep saying it's animal like, and I don't think a lot of Black women understand that the sexual experiences that they have had with Black men, majority of it is animal like, and it's not actual sex.
it's conquering. That's how they see it.
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
pillaging a village in their
Mhm.
mind. Like they're Vikings somehow. And it's like,
Mhm.
y'all have never been to war, but okay. This whole thing is just like I said, the articles coming out, it just speaks more and more like they're anti-socialism. And like I said, they
Mhm.
can't pick up on social cues. Again, can't pick up. Even the ones that do come to the workforce, they are still awkward. They make the workplace awkward.
Oh yeah.
Like, again, the first people who ever made me feel uncomfortable in a corporate setting were Black men
Really?
who spoke about my hair, who spoke about my body. I thought it was going to be the white. I'm like, okay, it's going to be white people. Let me, there was Asian people there. I'm like, oh, the first people who I'd come in and listen, I'm going to change up my hair because I couldn't, it is what it is. The calling me, oh, okay, you think you Beyonce. And I'm like, what? Oh, you
Really?
think you're Nicki Minaj? Like, it was always digs somehow, some way. They always
Mhm.
found a way. And I will always remember, I no longer work at that company, but
That's
those two Black
crazy.
men always made me, it literally felt like I was being bullied by them. But we
It's
were the
great. I
only
had the
three
experience
Black people
in
working
corporate
in that
America.
entire company.
I had the experience from other Black women clocking me, just clocking me on everything, clocking me from my shoes to the hairstyle that I chose for the day. So I think we as Black people tend to project, I guess, our insecurities when it comes to our appearances onto each other, and just be clocking each other for unnecessarily. Like, listen, we go into the same job, and I don't think any of us really truly want to be here. If I'm being completely honest, but it's like, is Black people clock each other on appearance really bad. I see that both in men and women, if I'm being completely honest. Just clock it. It could be jealousy, but sometimes it could be insecurities.
I haven't had that interaction with women yet. So
Not
far
an
my
older Black
interaction with women have been very great. Like I'd be like, okay, like I'm not gonna call them not friends, like I'm not crazy, but I'll say, like,
woman.
they'll see me, they'll compliment me, I'll compliment them in return. What I won't do with other Black women is they are very competitive, and I
Oh.
make sure that I don't let any of my ideas, because usually we'd have to, like, do presentations and things like that, and they will take your idea in a second and
Oh
present
wow.
it as their own. Like that was the kind of stuff that I knew. I'm like, but otherwise, but the men, it was more like they wanted to beat me down and make me feel like you don't belong here. Like that
Oh
was the feeling that
wow.
I got from them. Like they didn't even, when I would come into, like, when we'd have like morning meetings,
Mm-hmm.
I swear, like, it was like the whole room would shift when I walked in, but it wasn't even from the other people would say, good morning, good morning. I'm like, good morning, everyone.
So, like, were these men that were doing this, were they in like a leadership position over you, or?
No. We were like kind of all like same level, and like I
Mm-hmm.
said, but it was the oddest thing. I'd come
Mm-hmm.
in happy go lucky, and then I would see them, and like my whole mood would change. And I feel like they knew that, and they enjoyed that. And like I said, like every little, it was like kind of like kiss. They wanted to kiss our boss's, like, his booty. because every little thing that I had to say, my input, they'd butt in. And it's like, what? Like, okay, calm down. And at first I didn't realize what they were doing until I realized, like, oh, you're undermining me in front of our boss. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. And they kept doing it until I literally, to the point where I never said anything anymore. And even my superior was like, what happened to you? Like, well, you used to give good ideas, and everybody likes your personality, you're giddy, you'll do little jokes. I was quiet. I no longer spoke in these meetings, Yoni. Like, that's how bad it got.
Wow.
Like
But
they
don't
changed
let
my
them
whole
silence you
personality.
like that. Don't let them silence. They're always trying to silence women in the workspace. And sometimes it's other Black women as well doing it, but it's like, don't allow them to silence you.
I mean, I left
you're
that
right.
company. I
Mhm.
left that company. I
Oh,
went
you
somewhere
did.
else, and I learned my lesson from there. I was like, I
Mhm.
was like, I'm never gonna let somebody affect my moods to the point where it was just ridiculous. But that was my first interaction in that kind of way. So
Mhm.
now I know better. But the whole situation was crazy. But I just want to put that in. But the articles that are coming out, and also with the reason why I came up here was the main point, and I forgot. It went off on a tangent. I'm so sorry. Was realize the men that came on this live, they were all deflecting. Like, I was reading the stuff that they were reading in the chat, and I'm just like, are y'all not listening to the video? Like, no one's here to bash you. No one's here to like shame you. Listen to the information and digest it. Is this you that they're talking about? Do you not have friends?
Right.
Are you not participating in the workplace? Are you obsessed with corn and playing video games, and you're not outside touching grass?
Yeah.
If this speaks to you, then you may have an issue. No, they want to deflect.
And have
I'm
you
like,
also noticed that it's starting to show up in younger boys as well? Like, did you hear about that kid that unalived his mother because she took his video game?
Yes.
It's starting to show up younger and younger, to the point where they're unaliving or doing crazy things to teachers. I've seen a teacher that was attacked because she took a young boy's cell phone or something like that. So it's becoming an issue, and it's actually affecting the younger, like, little boys as well.
And the girl, it's also Black girls too, because there was the other Black girl who attacked her teacher. She fought her, right? And she ended up like breaking the teacher's leg, because she fell because she wasn't trying to fight her. And then the teacher ended up getting fired. And it was like, she's really just trying to protect herself from technically a child attacking her. And then she ended up losing her job. So to just say, I don't think they want help, to be honest. And I know that sounds mean, but the way that they came on, so like, oh no, we're going to school, we're making I thought it was $100,000. Now you're saying you're making $200,000. And it's like, sir, come on.
Well, that male pride is something else. But when it's Black male pride, we talking about Black male pride. If you know anything about Black male pride, y'all just don't understand. That's why I'm saying Black women need to move on with their life and move on forward. Because if you wait on a Black man to put his pride aside to admit anything to you, you're gonna be in your grave. You're gonna be in your grave. You wasting your time, you wasting your energy. You need to move on with your life. So it's not shocking to me. Like, all men have an extreme high level of pride. But when it comes to dealing with a Black man, that pride is on steroids. So I always tell it, it's like, they're not going to admit their wrongs. They're not. If that was the case, they would have been done did that. So,
but I don't understand their level of. They're so fervent in like they wanting to spread their. I guess they. I don't know if it's because they believe it or they know it's lies and they're just trying to make us also believe it. But it's like,
honestly,
the stats are here.
You got to understand where that pride comes from. The pride is definitely delusional. So yes, they do believe it. You got to understand where the pride comes from. The pride comes from us as Black women worshiping them when they didn't have anything, but making them feel like they had it all. And it originated from a great place. It did, because we didn't come from much. But now it has created narcissism in our community. It has created this level of pride where men cannot even admit when they're wrong at all. They refuse to do it, even in the slightest. So you got to understand that culturally, we created that pride in them. And now it's getting to a point where it's backfiring. Now it backfired on us first. I don't even think Black women even realized how it backfired on us first, because we ended up holding up the community, and it just, we got exhausted. So it backfired on us. And so now it's backfiring on them. So they can be prideful all day, but at the end of the day, we don't have to stick around and deal with your issues. Like, you have to deal with your issues. Black women are leaving them behind to deal with their issues. They can have the pride all day, but at the end of the day, they're still going to be left with their problems, and we don't have to deal with that.
But I think that's also where the violence comes in as well, why we're seeing such an uptick in their violence towards us, even the unprovoked violence, where it's like women just being them punching random women in the face, and it'll just be Black women. But it's like, it makes sense, like the uptick in violence, it's kind of like they're becoming so unhinged that their only outlet is which is like you said, it's I don't know, like it makes you you have to be afraid, because I don't know you. I did nothing to you. Just because I happen to look like a family member, I happen to look like your mother, you're like, yep, she's going to get my wrath. Or because a Black woman who turned you down last week, well, you're going to get my wrath today because I'm upset. And I don't need a reason to abuse you and use you. You're Black, I'm going to get. And I feel like that's what they think. Like, they're going to get away with it because you're Black. Like, oh, okay, well, I'm on the lower totem pole and you're even lower than me. So no one's going to care.
Yep, that's exactly how it's going. No one is going to care. So I appreciate you for coming up here and giving your opinion, but I'm going to move on to the next caller.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I wanted to read this. She said the latter. We tried to make them feel man enough with the world telling them that they weren't. Exactly. And it backfired on us because they were willing to leave us because of their pride. Girl, you better tell them. That's what I'm saying. Stop doing that. And and in Black women, don't dare go outside the community and do it. You don't need to do that shit. Either men find that type of confidence in themselves, but it's not up to you to create that confidence in themselves. They need to develop that own characteristic, just like we have to when it comes to our self-esteem and our confidence. It's not our job to instill a high level of self-esteem and confidence in men. It really wasn't our job to begin with, but we thought that we were helping them. So don't go out here doing it to other races of men either. Like, let them figure it out. That's coddling, really. Then they resent you. That's why they don't like us now. So don't go out here doing it to other men outside of the community, and then next thing you know, they're gonna be resenting us. Let these men figure it out for themselves. You focus on you. The Black intellectual, you're up.
Hello, Yoni. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
What would you like to add to the conversation today?
I wanted to bring up a concept of like being in the middle. So I'm more in the middle when it comes to these kind of things, if that's fair.
Okay.
So when you got like the dudes that's doing the stuff that they're doing, I don't agree with them brothers at all. That's just out of pocket to me. And something that I've realized is when I was younger, the old heads was always giving us the worst advice. This is like Gen X was telling us like, oh, young boy, you might as well run through all these joints while you can before you settle down, or you won't be able to stay married and this, that, and the other thing. And it's crazy, but that's really what would happen behind the scenes that a lot of sisters don't know.
Well, what age does it start?
I would say it starts around like 12, 13 for real.
Yeah. Okay. And do you feel like that feeds into why Black men tend to grow up hypersexual because it's being taught to them, or do you feel like
it's
that's
being
something
implemented in us young? It's being implemented in us very young. There are a lot of the old heads, at least the millennial boys. I can't speak for the millennials talking to the Gen Zers, but for millennial boys, like I'm 28, so I don't know if we're like the same age. You might be younger than me, but I just turned 28 in February.
Okay.
And I remember specifically a lot of old heads on my block, even though these are dudes you really shouldn't be listening to, was like, yo, you gotta run through them, just have as much sexual. Even guys at my job now at 28, I'm hearing it from dudes in their 40s saying it to me like, yeah, you can't be settling down. You too young. You need to be da 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 da. And I'm like, all y'all got kids by multiple women. I'm not trying to move like that. That's crazy.
But do they ever say why? Like, why is it bad to settle down with one woman?
I think our community just kind of abandoned that pretty just out of nowhere. It wasn't like this before the 60s. So what's crazy is that, like, I think it's just this thing of like marriage is boring, go out there and have fun. Then when you hit 40, you'll settle down, even though that's really not a good idea for either side, because now you're too used to not being with someone.
Can you give us a little insight on why you think men may feel like marriage is boring?
It's the same thing for like when you ever hear like the midlife crisis.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of this feeling of like, oh, I missed out. I didn't get to be the girl on the yacht or the boy in the club with the section with all the girls in my face and just and everything. But that's fantasy. A lot of people don't realize that's fantasy.
Oh yes, it's an illusion. It really is. It's an illusion.
So,
And
so
I'm one of
yeah.
those people where I go to these spaces that are supposed to be, the life of the party, right? And I'm sitting here and I'm like, is this what everyone is talking about? Because this can't be what everybody is talking about. I can't, like, I go to the sections. I'm in the club. I'm listening to the music. I got a cute outfit on, but it's like I don't feel like this is the life of the party. It's not giving that. It's giving. It's showboaty. It's competitive. It's egotistical for both men and women. It's a competition for sure. Somebody could easily look at you wrong and want to start like a fight with you, and people are getting blacked out drunk, and
Not worth it.
It's not. And like, and I used to continuously, when I was insecure in my 20s, I would continuously put myself in those environments thinking that, I'm just not in the right place. I'm not in the right spot. I'm not with the right people. And I came to the realization that it's not any of that. It's that these people believe in the illusion. Like, they actually believe in the illusion. So when they're in it, they actually enjoy themselves. But because I'm not in the illusion, I just see a bunch of drunk people getting drunk, not really socializing, competing, and doing all of this extra stuff. It's like I can't enjoy that environment like they can. You get what I'm saying?
I live in Philadelphia, so I know exactly what you're talking about. The clubs in Philly, like, it's miserable. You see the guys on one side, they all got a chip on their shoulder. The girls on the other side, they all got a chip on their shoulder. No one's talking to each other. I'm like, this is going to turn into a shootout real fast. I need to get up out of here. And so it is unfortunate. And I'm also working in like where I work at. I've seen a lot. Most of the people I work with are black. So I've seen the older women even tell the younger girls, "Girl, don't settle down till you in your 40s. Go out here, be a hoe, do this, that, and the other thing." So it's both sides. It's the older people telling the younger people to do this. It's on both ends. So there's a lot of hypersexual younger girls because they grew up with hypersexual older women.
And you know what? I can agree with that. I can actually agree with that. I can agree with that. But I do feel like on the male side, I feel like y'all
more
pushing
prevalent.
that way heavier than the women. And the reason why I say this is because women, we tend to be told to do that to get ourselves together. Like, make sure we go to school, and they're saying, go to school, but also have fun, but y'all not even being told to do the paperwork. Like, y'all not being told to do the things that are going to secure your future. We are still being told, regardless. Yes, I could agree that women are out here coaching women to, date men with money and have fun and do all of that. But we're also being told to go to school, to complete school, to get that job. We're actually being told to have balance. You guys, it's just one straight narrow line, and it's to get women, it's to look like you got money, it's to have the women, it's to be the man, and that's it. And it's just like, it seems like when it comes to us as women, we're being taught to be multifaceted. Like, we're taught to have many different layers to us. So marriage isn't boring, but with men, it's like, it's just get women, get money, and that's it. And it don't matter how you get it, you just need to get it.
Yeah, I would say from the man side, I actually can see both issues. So I like for me, for women, I always say if you go to college, that is a beautiful thing. I
Mhm.
try to get men to go to college. So like I'm about to graduate from CCP
Okay.
in May, and I'm in a program where there's nothing but brothers in there. So it's a lot of black men that go to college, at least from where I'm at. I got, like I said, Philly's a college capital. There's like 25 different colleges here, and I work at University of Pennsylvania, so I have a big perspective on like who's in college, and I do see
Who's in
brothers
college?
like. I don't want women to think that there aren't brothers trying. There are brothers that are trying. You know, like there are brothers that are putting in the work. It's just they're not really getting noticed because they're not the flashy ones.
But listen. With the this is where the men who are trying mess up. I think a part of you guys still want to be that guy that the old heads told you to be while trying. And that's what is getting you guys caught up. And I think like a lot of men consider themselves to be the good black man just because they went to school, they got a job, they basically did what they were supposed to do, but they still don't treat women well. They still feel like they can pimp women, just treat women poorly, disrespect women and things like that. And so that's what I'm saying, like, again, there's no balance, going to school, but then also treating women with respect. That needs to be a package deal when it comes to the black men that are actually trying. Um, like
Understood.
I just last year I was dealing with a man that was college educated. He was black, but like he wanted to be a player. And it's just like, you want to be a player, but you're labeling yourself the good black man, but you still are trying to be basically street, but just socially, but you go to work like that. Like, you don't get brownie points for that.
Yeah,
And
I
he
see what you.
basically wanted brownie points for that. He wanted brownie points because he went to school, he did what he was supposed to do, but he's still out here playing women like he grew up in the streets.
Oh yeah,
Make it
I.
make sense.
It's some of us out there doing that too, and I've been trying to really get dudes to stop moving like that. Like, but I think the rhetoric of the whole nice guys finish last got really drilled into our head. So they like,
Mhm.
if I move like this, I'll get results. If I move the other way, I'm gonna get looked at as lame. So I
Mhm.
think that's another problem that needs to get really addressed as well on both sides. I think men need to stop
Mhm.
going for that altogether. But I think a lot of sisters need to stop saying that these guys are corny if they move the way y'all say y'all want them to.
I agree. I agree with that. I agree. I also
So,
want to ask you this too, because you mentioned growing up, and you said 10, 12 years old heads will start getting at you about running through women. How does
mhm.
that affect your identity? Because it's almost like they're bringing certain things to your attention that most likely you probably not even thinking about, but they're bringing it to your attention. How did that shape your identity? How did it shape the identity of men or boys that you grew up with?
As a person who didn't lose his virginity till he got out of high school, I
Mm-hmm.
would say it definitely made me feel like less of a dude because I'm
Mm-hmm.
hearing all the dudes was like, yo, I had such and such this night, and I had such and such the next night. And it's like, well, I'm not even doing none of this. But all the
Mm-hmm.
old heads said that's what we're supposed to do. So it kind of makes you feel like a failure a little bit, which is weird. But it because they're not telling us how to move and get a job. These are dudes just saying
Mm-hmm.
get laid a bunch. They're not really telling us to get our money up or to get
Mm-hmm.
our brain up. It's just you got to run through them while you can. Run through them while you can before you settle down because you're gonna be miserable. And I honestly don't believe that, but that's what's and the music didn't help. A lot of the music didn't
Mm-hmm.
help. It was like I had a whole club full of Jones, and now we sitting here like, well, I'm poor, so I can't have a club full of Jones. Like it's definitely a lot of the old head influence and the fantasy of the music and television and movies and all the other stuff that really drilled that in.
So you feel like, and again, because you're saying you can see both sides, because I can see both
Hmm.
sides too. So you're basically painting me a picture of what men fantasize about. Because I tell women all the time that they get caught up in their fantasy, and then they end up getting burned by men because they're caught up in their fantasy, not understanding that men have a totally different fantasy.
Yeah,
So
Disney.
you're
I blame Disney
painting.
for that one.
Right, which is the princess movies, the romance novels, the chick flicks that they make and stuff like that. But I always wondered what it was for guys like men, because I'm like, I know what the fantasy was for me as a kid based off of the things that I was conditioned and programmed by the things that I watched and saw on TV. But I always wondered what it was like for guys. And it really just comes down to, it sounds like sex, just sex and lots of sex and as many women as they can. So again, like I tell women all the time that when it comes to this whole competition about, they say, should you be natural or should you get with a girl with a BBL? It doesn't even sound like any of that matters. It just sounds like as long as a man can hit, that's really all that he cares about. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you'll find those guys who don't move that way. I will say it's a diamond in the rough. It is a diamond in the rough.
Right.
But those guys, there are guys that go like, you know what, that don't make sense to me. I'm tired. It don't make sense. There's too much energy to put into it. And then you got the guys who just go, I'm gonna keep doing it anyway because I'm just gonna keep doing it. So I would say there are more guys moving towards I'm just gonna hit them all than there are guys that aren't. But there are guys that aren't, and I know a bunch of them. I personally try to tell all my young bulls, listen, focus on yourself. Do you build yourself up? Everything else comes later. But just try to not fall for the sleeping around problem because it's already an issue, and it's only got the worse.
Sex addiction.
Yeah, it creates a sex addiction.
This is what I'm picking up on. When you talked about the older black males, it sounds like they had a sex addiction. So they were teaching you based off of their sex addiction, creating a sex addiction in you. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. And I've also heard a lot of older black men just go, I'm trying to live vicariously through you. I done did it back then. Now it's time for you to do it. So I know all your little sex stories. And it's crazy. It sounds crazy, but I promise you that's exactly what goes behind closed doors. It'll even go on in open doors if you have a job that's not going to put anybody in trouble for it. So like everyone in my job talks about their sex stories like they have nothing else to talk about, men and women. Like you'll catch circles of women talking about it, and you'll catch a circle of guys talking about it. And then the guys and the girls talk about it together. Like there's no barrier there. I'm just like, this is crazy. Y'all are crazy.
So this is another thing, because I say things on my platform like we shouldn't follow what men do because they sound like they seem unsuccessful with the things that they do, like sleeping around, creating a sex addiction while sleeping around. But now we women have followed in that footstep of sleeping around, calling it sexual liberation, right? So we're sexually empowered. We can do what men can do type thing. But it's sounding like that they have created a sex addiction by doing that.
Oh yeah, it has created a very bad addiction amongst people. I know somebody who literally ran through like 50 people in like a year.
Oh,
crazy. And he was just like, I can't stop doing it. And I'm like, bro, you need to get help. Like this is bad. This is bad for your mental.
Yeah, but we called it a whole phase, and I don't know what you guys are calling it, but
we call it a whole phase too.
A whole phase too. See, this is the type of stuff that I talk about on my platform. I'm like, if they're unsuccessful, they're creating addictions. Why would we copy their behavior? And it's not a competition about who can do better. It's just an awareness. Like I'm seeing a pattern here, and if it's bad, then I'm not gonna follow that. It's sounding like you were the same way. You saw like, that don't look like that's really working out for them. So I'm not going to copy what they're doing. I'm going to do my own thing. And I know that had to be hard for you to grow up in high school as a black male, not having sexual experience. All of your friends are having sexual experience, and then them making fun of you for it.
Oh, I got laughed at.
Oh yeah,
I got laughed at a lot. They was like, "You're 15, you haven't had sex." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm 15, I haven't had sex because I don't even know what it is for real." Like. Y'all lost your minds. And then I know guys who were 15 who had their first kid. And I know girls who were 14 who had their first kid. And I'm like, y'all lost your minds. I don't want that. Nope. I'm going this way. I still don't got kids. I'm 28. I still don't got kids. So
do you think the black community has a sex problem?
Absolutely. That is a 100% absolute answer. There's no.
I agree with that, because every time I log on to social media, whether it's a spiritual word, baller alert, and I have to stay I have to stay tapped into these spaces for what I do. But it's like there's not a week that goes by where there isn't a conversation from Black people, Black culture, that talks about sex. And I noticed that Black people talk about sex a lot, and other races don't really talk about sex like we do. It's like
because they value it differently.
Yeah, they do.
They
How do
value
you
it differently. We look at it as a hobby.
sex?
I would say in the Asian cultures, they like, listen, you either sleep with your husband or sleep with your wife, or you about to get treated different out here.
Mm-hmm.
In Hispanic communities, it's not quite as strict. I think Asians are more strict about it than anyone. But like with Hispanics, they do it. But usually Hispanic people, I swear to God, they never break up. They be together since like high school. I swear to God,
Yeah.
Puerto Ricans never break up. I swear to goodness. My friend, he dated his wife since we got out of high school. We were like 18. They just got married last year. I was like, y'all crazy. White people, they're just about as liberal with it as we are. They just don't.
That's what I was about to say. If not, I feel like they're a little worse, in my opinion. That's just my opinion, because I grew up in a white community, and I, as Black people, I feel like we always tried to live up to white people, to where we even picked up their bad habits. And to the point, because when I grew up, Becky and Sarah and Katie and all of them, they was getting on birth control in freaking 5th grade. Like, as soon as they start their menstrual cycle, their moms was putting them on birth control and giving them condoms and all type of stuff like that. It was like their thing. And as Black people, it's like we have also picked up the worst parts of their culture as well. Like, that they're hippie, that hippie side when it comes to sex. So I grew up around a lot of white girls, and my dad wasn't putting me on birth control. He's telling me not to have sex. They're being encouraged to have sex.
Bless his heart. We did the right thing.
5th grade, y'all. Fifth grade. And so it was a culture shock for me, because I'm like you're
out here grown.
Like, you're on birth control. Like, your boobs have not even fully developed yet. So I don't know. I've seen it in the Hispanic community as well, because typically Hispanics tend to mirror them when it comes to some of our cultural practices and behaviors and patterns and things as well. But I noticed that I feel like, actually, when it comes to sex, white people are way worse than Black people. If I'm being completely honest, it's just they cover it up. I keep trying to tell Black people that, like, they cover it up. There were plenty of girls getting pregnant in my school, but they were getting abortions because their parents would pay for it. Just being honest with y'all. So we didn't have that. We didn't have.
They also have the privilege of sleeping under too.
Oh yeah.
They have the privilege of sleeping under the rug. We get pregnant. It's like, okay, I'm stuck. But like with them, it's like, oh, daddy trust fund from like 1,500 years ago can just cover this up and throw it in the
Oh yeah. And so that's the thing that I started noticing was, if I would talk to one of the girls, they were like, yeah, well, my mom, she got pregnant when she was 14, and so she got an abortion, and so she put me on birth control. And I'm like, what? Like, and so it was a culture shock, because I lived in 2 different cultures. Basically, I partially lived in a Black neighborhood, then I lived in a white neighborhood, and so I was comparing the 2 different cultures, and I'm like, I feel like white people are bigger criminals. I feel like white people be out here just doing things. They just get away with it. They're able to hide it better. They have the connections. They have the resources.
Absolutely.
They can send you away. A lot of girls got sent away to what are those schools called, where boarding schools and things like that.
My cousin got sent to one of those. She got pregnant, so her mom sent her to one of them.
And most Black parents don't have that type of resource. So no, it's definitely happening, you guys. It's just it's swept under the rug, like you were saying. It's swept under the rug. So I do want to ask you some advice.
Of course.
What advice can you give younger men that are in high school who are not wanting to do what is out here that is being promoted? Like you said, you took a different path in life. What advice would you give? Do you feel like it paid off for you? Do you feel like the benefits that you're trying to reap is harder to obtain? You didn't choose the fast lane. You kind of chose, the average lane. Like, what advice do you give to young men today?
I would definitely tell them to continue to be themselves. Don't try to be what everyone's responding to, because right now what everybody's responding to is just not working. And absolutely don't try to go into the fast lane, because fast money creates slow problems. And a lot of people don't talk about that, but it absolutely does. So I always tell the young boys, listen, do not succumb to what you see in the media, because the
Mm.
media is the most destructive thing we've got working for us right now.
So true. Okay. And what's your name? I'm sorry.
Marcus.
Marcus. Well, thank you, Marcus, for coming up here and sharing your perspective and your opinion. Was there anything that you wanted to add before I ended the call?
I would like sisters to at least know that there are guys out here in the black community that are trying. I know there are a lot of brothers that are grimy as hell. I will never not deny that. But I would say there are brothers out here that are trying. And I really want that to really be known, that there are a lot of brothers trying. Just like I know there are sisters who are trying. There are brothers who are trying too.
Okay. Okay. So. I can't be mad at that. I can't be mad. It's just black women. I mean, it's gonna be up to them on whether or not they want to take that chance. Because like you said, there are a lot that are grimy as well. And
absolutely
we don't want to be single mothers. And honestly, it just doesn't get any realer than that. We would have to take a chance. We would have to take a risk.
Oh yeah, I'm not trying to be no single dad. I ain't trying no baby moms. Like I be dodging females left and right because I'm like, look, I know what's happening. So yeah, I would rather my kids have their dad in their life all the time than like once a weekend or once a month. I don't want to go through all that. No, thank you.
Yeah.
So
well, thank you, Marcus. I appreciate you for coming up here and sharing your perspective. Thank you.
No problem. Have a good day.
Have a nice. You too. All right, you guys. That was my last call. I'm sorry, Brandon, I didn't get to you, but I will definitely get to you next time because I'm gonna be coming back. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to do this live because what's his name? O'Shea. He made a video saying that I'm spreading false information. So I just wanted to clear that up on my platform. I don't spread false information. Okay. I actually do research over here. I do research. And I'm not going to coddle anyone in this space when it comes to what's actually happening in the world. Okay. Like you need to be saving your money because we may be going through a recession. I feel like we're already in a recession. So it is what it is. I like to deal with reality. I don't like to live in illusions. I don't like to be delusional. I like to be prepared and aware. So I just wanted to make this live. I also wanted to hear from some men that are out here and just wanted to get their perspective on the crisis that is actually going on with young men today. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys in my next one. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Also, turn your post notifications on because I'm going to be uploading Monday through Thursday. Thanks, guys. You enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy work. Don't let them people stress you out.